Get ready for the dictation on the count of 3, 2, 1, start. The Quit India movement, also known as the India August movement, was a civil disobedience movement launched by the Indian National Congress on August 8, 1942 during World War II. The movement called for the immediate end of British rule in India and was a significant step towards India's independence. The Quit India movement was launched after the failure of the Cripps mission in 1942, which aimed to propose a new constitutional structure for India. The Congress Party rejected the proposals because they did not include a clear timeline for India's independence. As part of the Quit India movement, Indian leaders, including Mahatma Gandhi, were arrested and imprisoned, and there were widespread protests and acts of civil disobedience throughout the country. The British authorities responded with force, and there were violent clashes between protesters and the police. Despite the repression, the Quit India movement succeeded in galvanizing public opinion and bringing the issue of India's independence to the forefront of international attention. It was a major milestone in India's struggle for independence, and it paved the way for the country's eventual independence in 1947. The Quit India movement was one of the most significant events in India's freedom struggle, and it remains a crucial moment in the country's history. The movement represented a turning point in the struggle for independence, as it demonstrated that the Indian people were prepared to use non-violent civil disobedience to achieve their goals. The Quit India movement was launched by the Indian National Congress under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, who had long been a vocal advocate for India's independence. Gandhi had been involved in the Indian freedom struggle since the early 1910s and had led several campaigns and movements, including the non-cooperation movement and the Salt Satyagraha. The Quit India movement was a response to the British government's refusal to grant India independence. The Cripps mission, which had been sent to India by the British government in March 1942, had proposed limited self-government for India but had stopped short of offering full independence. The Congress Party, led by Gandhi, rejected the proposals, arguing that they did not go far enough. The Quit India movement was launched on August 8, 1942 at the All India Congress Committee session in Bombay, now Mumbai. Gandhi gave a famous speech at the session calling for the British to quit India and declaring that we shall either free India or die in the attempt. We shall not live to see the perpetuation of our slavery. The British authorities responded to the Quit India movement with force. Within hours of the launch of the movement, the Congress leaders were arrested, including Gandhi himself. The British government also declared the Congress Party illegal and banned all political activities. Despite the repression, the Quit India movement sparked widespread protests and acts of civil disobedience throughout the country. There were strikes, demonstrations, and acts of sabotage and the police responded with violence, often firing on the crowds. The movement was particularly strong in rural areas where the local people, inspired by Gandhi's message of non-violence, boycotted government schools, courts, and offices. The British government responded to the protests with a harsh crackdown, arresting tens of thousands of people and imposing heavy fines and long prison terms. Many of the movement's leaders, including Gandhi, were imprisoned for several years. The Quit India movement had a profound impact on India's freedom struggle. It demonstrated that the Indian people were prepared to use non-violent civil disobedience to achieve their goals and that they were willing to pay a high price for their freedom. The movement also brought the issue of India's independence to the forefront of international attention as the British government's violent response to the protests was widely condemned. The Quit India movement also had a significant impact on the British government's policies towards India. The movement, combined with the pressures of World War II, led the British to reconsider their position on Indian independence. In 1947, the British government finally granted India independence and the country was partitioned into two independent nations, India and Pakistan. In conclusion, the Quit India movement was a significant event in India's struggle for independence. It represented a turning point in the country's history and demonstrated the power of non-violent civil disobedience as a tool for social and political change. The movement remains an inspiration to people around the world who are fighting for their rights and freedoms, and it is a reminder of the importance of standing up for what is right even in the face of adversity. The Quit India movement also had a significant impact on the Indian society and its political landscape. The movement brought together people from all walks of life, including students, farmers, workers, and women. It united them in their common struggle for freedom and gave them a sense of purpose and identity. The movement also gave rise to a new generation of leaders who were inspired by Gandhi's message of non-violence and who went on to play crucial roles in shaping India's future. These leaders included Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and others who later became key figures in independent India's political landscape. In addition to its political impact, the Quit India movement also had a profound cultural impact on India. It gave rise to a new wave of Indian nationalism which celebrated the country's rich cultural heritage and traditions. It also inspired artists, writers, and musicians who used their creative talents to promote the message of freedom and independence. Overall, the Quit India movement was a defining moment in India's history and it remains a powerful symbol of the country's struggle for freedom and self-determination. It demonstrated the power of non-violent civil disobedience as a tool for social and political change, and it continues to inspire people around the world who are fighting for their rights and freedoms.